Hello everyone, this is Alex Caney with LiveWell Colorado. I am here to get us started today. I have a few housekeeping items to cover first before we get started. The first is that we will be recording this webinar and it will be available tomorrow on the LiveWell Colorado website. Visit livewellcolorado.org, click on Research and Publications, and select Webinars. Next, we will have some time for Q&A at the end of the webinar. If possible, please let us know as much as you can about your question. Type it into the the questions widget. Now let's get started with the LiveWell at Work webinar. Today's presenters are Lisa Walvoord and Rene Doubleday, and I would like to turn it over to Lisa.
Great, thank you, Alex. Thank you all for being on the call today. I think we have a mix of LiveWell coordinators and then a few coalition members who are working on Worksite initiatives. So we appreciate all of you being on the call today. We've got three objectives for today's call. The first is just continuing to build awareness of what resources are available in the LiveWell Work Toolbox to give you some greater awareness of how LiveWell Colorado is promoting it, and really make sure that you have an understanding of how LiveWell Coalitions can engage. So our agenda, first is I'll share some expectations for LiveWell Coalitions. Then I'm going to hand it over to Rene Doubleday, who is our project manager for LiveWell at Work and really is the guru in this area for us. So she'll actually walk you through the toolbox and then talk a little bit about some of the outreach and engagement efforts that we have planned. And then, as always, as Alex mentioned, give you an opportunity for questions. So feel free to be capturing your questions as we go along. And we will get to those at the end. So in terms of quickly expectations for LiveWell Coalitions, and those of you who are coordinators and were at our last quarterly meeting, this should sound familiar. And the first thing that we'd really like, we know that so many of you are already doing things to promote healthy eating and active living at your work site, ways to make the healthy choice the easy choice, anything from you're using water, you have healthy catering policies, and you've got walking meetings. Some of those things you've already got in play. What I'd ask is that you really listen today and that you spend some time looking through the website at a later date to pick something more that you can do. While we talk to the toolbox being for employers, we recognize that so much of this work can be done and start from so many different points in an organization. And so really finding those things where you can start doing it and bringing the rest of your organization along is what we ask for. So along with finding something new, Rene will share with you the employer pledge, and so we would love to see all of the employers of all of the fiscal agents of our LiveWell communities, all of our coalition members, to take that pledge and to start making some small steps to make the healthy choice the easy choice at work. The second thing is by knowing what resources are out here, to really point these resources to those in your community who might express an interest. We realize that not all of you are working specifically on worksite wellness initiatives, but you all are working with employers and you probably come into contact with people who could benefit from these resources. So we just want to be sure that you know that they're there, and they're really designed to be very consumable. So if you have suggestions on how to make them still more consumable or more easy to navigate, please share that feedback with Rene. Then our third is, as I mentioned at the beginning, and we know that you all have many of the examples already and already walking this talk. So we would love if you would share relevant resources and case studies to continue to enhance the toolbox. We can add new examples. We can also beef up some of the things that we have out there where we've got more generic examples rather than real Colorado examples. So as always, we want to fill this as much as possible with inspirational stories from around Colorado. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rene, and she'll start sharing with you the toolbox.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being with us today. I'm just going to take you through and just give you some of the thinking behind the toolbox and just take you through each of the sections. But it'd be great if you just take a little extra time at the end, if you can, or when you have a spare moment, to review this and review a lot of the information. So when you click on, either if you're on the livewellcolorado.org website and you click on Healthy Workplaces, you will end up at this landing page where, actually, sorry about that. We're one page back here. We click on Healthy Workplaces, and you have a landing page here. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this because this is going to change slightly. But what we want to do today is really feature on the Employer Toolbox, which is this area right here. So you click on the Employer Toolbox, and it will take you into this screen. At the top, what you'll find is a sliding, kind of a headline slider. And what we've decided to put up here are some of the things that we want to feature. The first thing that you see is the Take the Employer Pledge. And I actually am going to, Lisa spoke of this, but I'm going to kind of refer back to this at when we're talking about outreach and engagement. But this is where we like to put things that maybe are a little bit more timely. You know, there might be events on here or webinars or things that we want people to, you know, see right away when they land on this page. So you can kind of see some of the things that we have here now. We would like to feature maybe a case study now and again. We've got one here on stretch breaks that's a handy thing for people. There's a section on weigh and win right now. So KP is one of our partners. We've teamed up with them, and we wanted to highlight a program that we thought was particularly useful for Worksite. So that's the type of things that you'll see in this main slider area. As you go down onto the page, how this is organized is based on kind of these little, we just call them buckets, for lack of a better term. But the idea is that the people, a lot of times the people who are in charge of the Worksite wellness program at an organization either may not be that well versed in Worksite wellness overall, or this might be something that has been added to their list of duties. So we tried to really make this very simple. So when someone was looking for something that they could do at their Worksite, that it was very easily consumable and broken down into these different sections. So healthy eating, physical activity, assessing your Worksite, what you can do at meetings. We have some information which are kind of quick tidbits for people who need to populate their newsletter. If anybody has a corporate newsletter, you know how challenging that can sometimes be. There's information on a business case, so if you need to make your case to higher up, for instance, that has some good information, current information on it. Going beyond are resources that maybe don't fall exactly into our wheelhouse, but are important overall to Worksite wellness. And then we have just a little bit of background about LiveWell at Work. So that being said, I'm going to just click us through to healthy eating. And you'll see there are just a variety of topics that are applicable in that bucket. So tools of engagement are resources that you can use. It's like, how am I going to engage my employees? What kinds of things make it interesting and appealing to people who are trying to make changes in the workplace? Healthy beverages sort of speaks for itself, and I'll click through these as well. But healthy vending, a place to eat, so understanding the importance of having actually a break room. Kitchen appliances, staff and guest hospitality. There's a section on policies to promote a healthy food environment, and then healthy catering. And you'll forgive me, some of these are not quite in the right order. We're working with that to reorder them on the website. So when you go back to them, they might be slightly reorganized. But I'm going to actually click through first to healthy beverages, and you can kind of see the type of information that is listed in this section. What we're attempting to do is just to give a brief overview of what might be found or what might be included in healthy beverages. Then we have a couple of case studies, and that was what Lisa was referring to before. In some sections, you'll see that the case studies may be you know, more general, or maybe it focuses on something that's not necessarily in Colorado. But our goal is to have really a diverse set of employers, types of businesses, small, large, just so that there's a little bit of something for everyone there. And then also on resources, what we've done is sort of aggregated a lot of online research that's already been done and tried to cull it down into a palatable way. Again, if I'm a busy HR person and maybe I don't have time to look through all those websites, we've pulled a few of the ones that that we feel have really good information and that can be helpful without having to do a ton of research for folks. So going back now to healthy eating, healthy vending is an area that is common in the workplace, and I know that there's a lot of question about, and people have a lot of challenges in trying to make their vending more healthy. And you'll see that there's a little bit of information about that. There's some resources, vending machine standards, like how can I have a model policy. So if you're interested in changing or trying to change your vending contracts, this might be a place for you to start, and you can get some more information about that. Going back to healthy eating, there's a section on a place to eat, which just talks a little bit about the importance of people getting away from their desks and not necessarily, if they're continuing, if they've been seated all day and they continue to sit and eat at their desk, there is a benefit to actually being able to get up and go somewhere and eat. You'll see that this is one of the ones where we could really benefit from a case study. So again, like Lisa said, we're in the process of building all this out, and it's an iterative process. So if you have any content or if you run across anyone who's done a great job of that, we'd love to hear about it. Kitchen appliances. So some of these I won't click through entirely because I think it's pretty obvious. But do you have refrigeration? Do you have a microwave? Is there a place to heat and store your food? Those are some of the things that just small steps that employers can undertake to actually help make the healthy choice the easy choice at work. Staff and guest hospitality. This includes things like, can you swap out your candy bowl with a fruit bowl? Can you have fruits and veggies at work? Just kind of setting the tone for a new, healthier culture in your workplace. Sorry, bear with me for a second. We're a little slow. Policies to promote a healthy food environment. So in this section, you'll see how people have written up sample policies. So that could be policy with a big P, which means it's official and it's written down. It could be policy with a small p, which is what we consider, developing that culture of health. And, it might be unwritten, but it's still a part of the culture, and it's what people understand as being important to the firm. I click on this one because I think that this is a big area, which is healthy catering. So anytime there's an employer-sponsored event, how do you make sure that you're making the healthy choice the easy choice? And that doesn't necessarily mean being the food police, but if you have, you might consider portion control, you might consider, having fruit and vegetables at least as an option, so that if people are trying to make the healthy choice, that we're making it very easy for them to do that. So that's the healthy eating section, and you'll see that there are actually some of these articles that fit into multiple categories. So as you're going through, you might see something at the meeting section that you actually saw also in the healthy food section. So there is some crossover there, but we felt like it was important to list those in each place. Under physical activity, I just want to give you a kind of an idea of some of the things that you would see in this section. Again, we have a tools of engagement in terms of what kinds of things you can do to engage your employees. Walking meetings, so there's instructions on if you want to hold a walking meeting. There's kind of a step-by-step guide list on what you need to do and some suggestions on how to make it easier for yourself and for the people who are invited to the meetings. Stretching, so the idea of stretch breaks, whether that is at your desk or if it happens to be in a meeting, but how do you, there are resources out there to let you know how other people have done it, maybe some suggested stretches even. There's a section on bike racks, just talking about bicycle commuting and understanding like a place to store your bike and what might be involved and how organizations have incorporated that into their workplace. If you're interested in getting a bike rack at your work site, you know, what are some of the steps that you might need to take or that other people have taken to accomplish that. Again, in this section, there's a policy to encourage and allow exercise. So, you know, that talks about maybe flex time, allowing people to come in a little bit early or work out over lunch and those types of things. And just examples, again, of what organizations have done just to make that a part of their culture. Stairwell access, I'm going to click on this one because there's actually some fairly robust things, and this is a good way for people to get physical activity, and it's built into their environment in many instances if they're in a multi-floor building. So how do I start using, as an employer, how do I start encouraging stairwell usage among my employees? So there's some resources here. It could be everything from access to stairwells to actually the aesthetics of the stairwells, making them look nicer, maybe playing music, that kind of thing. So I think that's a popular category for something that is really no cost or very low cost to an organization that can be done. Walking, in this section, you'll see information about employees who have started walking groups. You know, maybe over the lunch hour, they have mapped out a walking route, and they encourage their employees to take a walk with them, and just how to go about that. Stretch breaks, we talked a little bit. There's stretch breaks and stretching, which are, now that I look at it, are very similar. So there could be some redundancy there. But so those are the kinds of things in the physical activity department that you'll find in the toolbox. Again, these are all small steps that we're looking for and sustainable over time that are appropriate for a startup business or a large business that hopefully don't require a lot of time and money resources that may or may not be available. This next section is still a bit of a work in process. So what we wanted to do was create an assessment that really just starts the conversation in your workplace about what are the types of things that we should consider when we want to build a healthy culture and a healthy environment. And so right now this exists as a PDF document, and it's broken down into a few different sections. Again, what kind of culture do you have? Talks a little bit about drink environment, what's a healthy food environment, how to encourage and promote physical activity. So just to give you an idea of where the next phase of this may head is that it would be great for us to actually automate this and make it an interactive assessment so people can actually fill in their answers, and then based on their answers they could be fed back information on changes that they could make at their work site. So that's kind of a next phase of the toolbox. But for now, what we wanted to do is just make people aware of the various places that they could have an impact and make a change at their work site. And it could be, you know, everyone from like the CEO, or, you know, if you're in charge of a particular event or a particular department, these are all places that you can have an impact. So that's the assessing your worksite section. Then over here to at meetings, we felt like it was important to include this because it's a very specific and ubiquitous thing that happens at worksites, our meetings, and what could we actually do to support our employees and show that we have this commitment to a culture of health. And so one of those is walking meetings. Again, that is, you saw that in the physical activity section, stretch breaks, and then healthy catering. So the reason that these things are duplicated is because, again, if I'm busy and I'm just looking for something to do at meetings, it's very easy for me to click there, and I may not have visited both physical activity and healthy eating. So that's kind of why that's laid out the way it is. And then clicking down for the newsletter. So as I spoke about, it's just quick facts and tips that you can easily use in a newsletter article. And so this tends to be just like quick hit lists, like 8 ways to eat healthy. It might be, here are suggestions for healthy snacks. And this list will continue to grow, as many of these things will, as they become available and we learn about them. So again, if there's anything that you run across that you think is particularly helpful in the work that you've done and you want to share that with us, I would encourage you to do so. And I'll just give you, if you don't have it, I'll give you my contact information at the end of the webinar. And we look forward to just getting as much information as we can and making this as robust as possible, so it's really helpful for our employers. Going back now to the landing page. The business case is actually just it's a one-page front and back business case that has some of the latest facts and figures. What we found last year in the pilot that we did is that oftentimes the worksite wellness efforts don't come from necessarily the CEO, although it's great to have that senior level buy-in, but it might start in another part of the organization, and sometimes you have to kind of sell it up the chain, and you need those facts and figures to explain why it is that you want to do what you want to do. And so you'll see that this is we purposely didn't want to make it too long so that it wasn't a ton of reading, but I think it has the salient points and just some suggestions of kind of minimum recommendations that we would encourage an employer to undertake. Moving along to, I mentioned the Going Beyond section. Like I said, we're really focused on the small sustainable changes that can be done by the employee at the worksite during the workday. And so going beyond might be, something that extends either beyond healthy eating and active living. So it might be some, like for instance, there's Weigh and Win, which we have put in the section, which is obviously a great resource for employers, but it falls a little bit outside of what the LiveWell purview is. So those are the types of things that you'll see in the Going Beyond section. In addition, we have the CDPHE Framework, that work that was done a couple of years ago. We have the Worksite Wellness Blueprint. I know that some people have asked for that, so that's where you can find these documents living. Like I said, you see the Weigh and Win. And then just some really, I think, good resources, again, so that the people don't have to cull through all of the web and try and find answers to their questions. What we've done is just highlight some of the ones where we know we find a lot of really good information, especially on work sites. And then lastly, for those people who are interested, and I don't know what subsection that is, but there's just a little bit of information about how LiveWell at Work got started and some of the work that we did last year in terms of piloting this initiative and some of the participants. And so we wanted to give some recognition to those people who helped to get us where we are today and help people understand exactly how we landed in the spot that we did. So again, that being said, hopefully you will take some time to kind of go through each of these sections, and I would encourage you, if you're speaking to an employer and they need, especially startup businesses, if they need a free resource that gives them some ideas. Also, this assessing your worksite piece is, I think that is, it's just a really good kind of gut check for your company. And a lot of people focus on, like the big initiatives that they can do, when there's really a lot of small steps that can be taken that help change your worksite culture as well. Moving now into the outreach and some of the things that we are doing to actually get people to the website. I just wanted to kind of highlight a few items with you right now. So I skipped over the employer pledge, which was you saw in the headline slider. And what we've just recently initiated, and as a way for employers to engage with us, is online you can take a pledge to make some small steps at your organization. And you fill out the pledge form, and there's an opportunity for your organization to be recognized, and we will do that in the near future on the website, so that companies who are really leading the way in these efforts can be recognized for what they're doing. And we would encourage you within your own organizations and the organizations that you're working with to sign up and take this pledge. What happens is once you do register for the pledge, then you're in our communication stream, and so you will receive periodic updates. And when we learn of maybe resources or webinars or tidbits or anything that we think would be applicable to a work site, we will forward that information on, obviously in a metered way. We don't want to over-inundate people with messaging, but we still want to continue to engage with them and give them the resources that they need and that would be helpful for them as they move forward with their healthy culture. The other thing that we have in the works right now is, as you've noticed with all of the consumer messaging for LiveWell Colorado, there are individual challenges. We're going to be launching employee challenges, and that is going to be in conjunction with a pilot event that we're doing in downtown Denver in September, where it's going to be a healthy workplace month, essentially. We're working with a couple of entities downtown, one of which being the Downtown Denver Partnership. And what that consists of is, for the month of September, we're going to be doing some messaging, so in terms of media and collateral, that kind of thing. And then we will be doing each week a Workout Wednesday. So there will be free events that are available to the public, really, but focused on trying to engage employers and employees to participate in events. And then once a week on Fridays, we'll also feature some sort of healthy eating element, and that might be a cooking competition. It might be featuring healthy items on restaurant menus, that type of thing. So what we'll be doing is working with the chambers and with the Downtown Denver Partnership to communicate to employers that these events are going on. We'll encourage them to take the employer pledge to support their employees on their challenges. So it's kind of a three-tiered effect, but that's the way, that's one of the ways that we're going to be trying to engage employers, but also get employees to make long-term behavior changes. As appropriate, for instance, the end of June, we will have a presence at the Northern Colorado Worksite Wellness Conference. And so where we can, we will do outreach to groups, encourage them to log on to the toolbox and take the pledge. And again, once we get them in and they sign up with their email address, then we can kind of track who's doing what, and we can give them the recognition and also some of the more pointed tools that they need to be successful in their work sites. So I think that other than just individual, like I respond to individual requests from businesses who are looking for some assistance, that's kind of our outreach and engagement strategy for right now. And I think that that is kind of that's pretty much the summation for what this is. But we just really encourage you to familiarize yourself with the tool And again, if you do have occasion or if someone's looking for a resource, please point them in that direction, and we would encourage your organization and the organizations you work with to take the employer pledge.
Thank you, Renee. Now let's take a little bit of time to answer your questions. I'm going to put up the contact information for our two presenters today. If you have not already done so, please type your questions into the questions tab on your control panel, and we will do our best to answer those. While we're waiting for any questions to come in, I will remind you that the webinar will be available tomorrow on our website. Visit livewellcolorado.org. You'll see a tab that says LiveWell's Commitment, and under Research and Publications, you will see all of our webinars. So feel free to visit there tomorrow, and we will follow up with a link to the webinar with you all as well. So we're not seeing any questions coming in yet, but let's take a few moments to make sure that everybody has a chance to get those in. Great. We just had our first question from Leslie. Leslie asks, will you refer companies back to local LiveWell communities after they sign a pledge?
Looking to Leslie. I think this is coming from a community that does have worksite wellness initiatives as part of their strategies. So I think there may be a little bit of it depends. Certainly if a community were to ask about what other resources were in their community, I think we would forward them on. But I can't promise that that is something we'll always do. If you ever are interested, however, in knowing who has signed up for it and to see where they're coming from, we will gladly share that information. I just want to be careful because we are going to be doing a big push around this, being careful of our commitment back to you of sharing who has signed up for the pledge. But if somebody were to reach out to Rene and say, we want some help with worksite wellness, we will certainly connect that with you. But if all they've done is simply sign the pledge, that'll be a little bit more passive in terms of our communication.
And this is Leslie Levine speaking. Our general practice is to send, if someone contacts LiveWell Colorado with an inquiry, we generally send that information to the LiveWell coordinator or community staff and let you reach out rather than share your information with the person making the inquiry. Thank you. We have another question. We're wondering about the locations of the Weigh and Win kiosks. Could anybody address how someone might get more information about where those are located?
We can. Is Katie's information on the
She's not there anymore.
We'll have to get you a contact person, or send you a link to the Weigh and Win website where you can find out where they've got those kiosks.
Yeah,
so that is a partner-managed effort. That's not LiveWell Colorado.
Yeah, and just off, if you want it right off the top of your bat, I think it is, Leslie, submitted to us, and I believe it is weighhandwin.com. But we can also get you that proper contact information.
All right, we have another question. This was a follow-up information about Weigh and Win. So we can include that information in the follow-up email that will be sent with the link to everyone that registered for this webinar. You can expect to receive that in your inbox tomorrow, so we will follow up with you.
Thank you. We appreciate the team effort to answer the questions. So
we will take a few
questions or comments too.
Yes, and I think we do, just again to reiterate, is if you have case studies or if you run across people who have had success or honestly even some challenges, because I think that other organizations can learn from those challenges. Obviously, we would present them in the best possible light, but anything that makes this a really valuable tool for people to use would be greatly appreciated. So if you get any of that information and you want to share that with me, you can just use my contact info that's on this screen.
All right, thank you all for joining us today. If you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to use that contact information that is in front of you. And thank you again for your time.